Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are now on part 2 of the Epstein file latest release. I had to break this up into 2 parts because it's just so much information. So on Friday, I covered the information that basically implicates Donald Trump. And now we're going to get into some of the other people that are mentioned in the Epstein files. And we're going to start off with Elon Musk. There's some celebrities that are mentioned here as well, some of them not surprising to me. Some of them are a little bit surprising. So let's get into it. Now, let's just take you back to when Kash Patel said this when he was testifying here in front of Congress about the Epstein files.
There's no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one?
For the information that we have.
In the files?
In the case file.
Okay. I just wanted to remind you of that because Kash Patel also has egg on his face. He said for the information that they had, no, there was no evidence that Jeffrey Epstein actually trafficked anyone. Of course, I knew that was a lie, and all the information that is coming out, especially right now, just goes to show that Kash Patel continues to be a liar. And they were running cover for people. So let's start with Elon Musk. He's in the files. He's in the files, in fact, in a very bad way. I want to show you a screenshot here, ladies and gentlemen. This was an email from Elon Musk to Jeffrey Epstein. Hi, Jeff. I was thinking of flying down for an epic vacation. Blank told me you were planning a party. Girls, FTW for the win. I cleared my calendar. What are the details? Thank you, good sir. And notice the subject line says Epic Island Vacation. So even though that time Elon Musk said that Trump was in the Epstein files, notice Elon Musk didn't tell you that he was in the Epstein files. Let's go on to more here. I think this one's probably even more damning. Again, from Elon Musk to Jeffrey Epstein. So let's start at the bottom of this email here. And this is from the Justice Department's actual site, the files. After they deleted those files and people made a big uproar about them, they put them back up there. Really interesting. So many people look so bad. So from Jeffrey Epstein, how many people will you be for the heli to the island? So how many people are going to be taking the helicopter? It looks like he's talking about there. Elon Musk responds, probably just Tallulah and me. What day, night will be the wildest party on our island? So this is evidence that Elon Musk not only knew about Jeffrey Epstein's island, but he was trying to go there. Trying to go there, ladies and gents. We'll go on to the next one here. That's the one I just highlighted. Yes, I wanted to show you the full clip of that one. Here's another one here from Elon Musk. Look at this one. To Elon Musk, from G to Elon Musk. Let's start down at the bottom again because you know how these email threads work. Hi, Jeff. I was thinking of flying down there for an epic vacation. Blank told me you were planning a party. I cleared my calendar. What are the details? Thank you, good sir. So this goes a little bit further. And it says, response from Jeffrey Epstein, deal with this. Thank you. To G, whoever G, that's probably Ghislaine Maxwell. And then here's a response here from Ghislaine Maxwell. I'm so sorry, Elon. You just missed Jeffrey Epstein. He actually told me he was thinking of winding down the entire Little St. James operation. Bummer. If it starts up again, we'll be sure to let you know. So what this also shows you is that Elon Musk was inviting himself. So this is not an example where someone can say, well, he reached out to me and I da-da-da-da. No, no, no. Elon was trying to invite himself. And notice Ghislaine says, Little St. James operation. Not party, not, fiesta, not events, operation. Elon Musk looks very, very embarrassing at this point in time. Let's get into this clip here from CNN, and then we're going to get into some of the other people who are named as well, and some damning information about Israel as well.
Well, the files also show that Epstein repeatedly took the fifth during a 2016 deposition when asked more than a dozen questions about former President Clinton. Among them, several about whether Mr. Clinton visited Epstein's private island and flew in his private plane. The former president has denied ever having visited the island. So has Elon Musk, yet the files contain at least two emails discussing just that. In one from the 24th of November 2012, Epstein writes, "How many people will you be for the Heli 2 island?" Musk responded the next day that it would probably just be him and his then wife, adding, quote, "What day/night will be the wildest party on our island?" A year later, Musk wrote Epstein saying, quote, "We'll be in the BVI St. Bart's area over the holidays," BVI's British Virgin Islands. "Is there a good time to visit?" To which Epstein replied, "Always space for you." It's unclear if that or the other visit took place. Representatives for Musk did not immediately respond to a request for comment about the new emails. And Musk in 2019 told Vanity Fair, quote, "He tried repeatedly to get me to visit his island. I declined." Now, Musk, you'll recall, famously posted this during his beef with the president this year, quote, "Time to drop the really big bomb. Trump is in the Epstein files."
So we have to go back to what Elon Musk said before all of this was released, was that he declined and that Jeffrey Epstein was trying to get him to go. The emails that are released in these files show that that's not the case. Not only did he not decline, but he was inviting himself. So this is what's been going on, ladies and gentlemen. All these rich people, all these people who said, yeah, I knew him, but I didn't really hang out with him. Like, really? None of you hung out with Jeffrey Epstein? It's really, really damning. Pretty bad, folks.
Minutes later, he followed up with, quote, "Mark this post for the future. The truth will come out." And keeping him honest, that's kind of hard to do. He seems to have taken the post down along with the first one. Also in the files, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, who famously said he'd broken ties with Epstein in 2005, vowing to, quote, "never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again." The files, though, reveal Lutnick or his wife, Allison, were in touch with Epstein as recently as 2012. In an email from Allison Lutnick in November of that year, she writes, quote, "We are looking forward to visiting you," adding, "We are traveling on a yacht called Excellence, and I am CCing the captain."
Again, Howard Lutnick is another one that's mentioned. If you did nothing wrong, why would you lie and say, I haven't spoken to him since 2005? That's the really damning part, right? Because again, let's say you did go there, but you didn't do anything wrong. You don't know anything about this entire trafficking operation. Why wouldn't you just tell the truth, which was that you also spoke to him in 2012? So this is the really damning part. And this is why they did not want these files to be released.
A spokesperson for the Commerce Department did not immediately respond to a request for comment. So a lot to talk about tonight. Starting us off, CNN Chief Legal Affairs correspondent Paula Reed. She's been going through the documents all day. So what stands out to you from the documents you've reviewed so far?
So the document that really stands out at this point is this list of accusations against President Trump, because the FBI compiled this list last summer. And this is a lot of the kind of information that investigators gather when they're looking at whether charges should potentially be pursued. For example, they're looking at unverified tips. Some include secondhand information that came through a tip line. It appears the FBI followed up on some tips. At least one was found to be unverified. But this is the kind of information they collect, but do not usually make public if there are no charges brought in a case. Now, of course, President Trump has always denied any wrongdoing connected to Epstein. But there are a lot of questions that are raised here. First of all, why did the FBI make this list of accusations specifically relevant to President Trump, though President Bill Clinton was also mentioned in there? The document was also taken down at least twice today. Last time I checked, Henderson, it was back up. But
yeah, I wanted you to hear that part, that they took it down twice. Right. So it's just so obvious, ladies and gentlemen. Donald Trump has denied a lot of things, but that doesn't mean, he's telling you the truth. Right. There's also this report of torture and slavery. In an internal email chain among U.S. government personnel documents, the receipt of a report alleging Ghislaine Maxwell sold a girl into sexual slavery and torture in the 90s, resulting in her death with Prince Andrew name. Now, we all know Prince Andrew was accused way back in the day by Virginia Giuffre. So let's start with this email chain here from Brian Miller to whoever. They blocked it out, but the subject is Ghislaine Maxwell. Listen to this. Back in the 1990s, Ghislaine Maxwell recruited a girl for a modeling career. Instead of modeling, she was sold as a slave for sex and torture. Prince Andrew was an accessory to her death as he tortured her and me to force her murder. I need to get a passport to identify her. I will need someone to contact the passport office to get it expedited. So again, we have to say allegedly here, but we have documentation here that alleges that Ghislaine Maxwell sold a girl into torture and slavery, and that Prince Andrew was an accessory to this young girl's murder. Now, we all know, again, like I said, Virginia Giuffre came out about Prince Andrew long ago and even had pictures of her with Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew is still walking around. He's still, I think they relinquished some of his royal rights or title, but Prince Andrew is still walking around free as a bird. And it also makes you wonder, how much did the royal family know about this before any of this information actually came out? Because word on the street is that Prince Andrew always had a thing for underage girls. It goes on to say here, if you follow it up, he called me wanting me to give him a secure email address. He is from blank. The number that came up is blank. Goes on to say here, Wendy, no problem at all to include me on Epstein Maxwell notifications going forward. But I wanted to let you know that because of my unit move, the office has transitioned me off the case and added blank. So if you wouldn't mind including her on any notifications, please and thank you. And I hope you're doing all right these days, given the circumstances. By the way, this email is 2020. The FBI has known about this a long time, and they sat on this information. So, Whitney Webb and her books and her reporting has been vindicated over and over again when she told people years ago who was involved. She told people years ago that Jeffrey Epstein was Mossad, and people told Whitney Webb that she was just a conspiracist. But now you're seeing a lot of these things are being proven true. So that's horrible. Let's go to Woody Allen, who has long been known in the entertainment industry as being this man who looks out for or goes after underage girls, right? So don't forget, like, his adopted daughter. Yes, it's not his daughter by birth, but the point is he was grooming her when she was underage as well. Jeffrey Epstein traveled to Paris with Academy Award-winning American filmmaker Woody Allen for a pedo convention in March of 2012. Look at this here. Again, from Jeffrey Epstein. Let's start down at the bottom again. Paris with Woody Allen. This is March 2012. For Les Pedo Convention, this person responds here. Jeffrey Epstein replies, I think pedo is the plural. So again, if you go back to that video from Kash Patel, like, these people were just blatantly lying. Jeffrey Epstein doesn't deny here. He doesn't say, no, what the hell are you talking about? Or absolutely not. He says, I think pedophile is the plural. And there's Woody Allen's name. And Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, I don't know what Pam Bondi thinks she's doing. She doesn't need to applaud herself, because the reality is they knew this information was there the same way we are seeing it now. Remember, they saw this information before us, so they knew it was there. They have been lying and continue to lie. So no, Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, they don't get a pat on the back. They tried to cover up all of this stuff. And that includes Dan Bongino, too, who resigned and is now gone back to podcasting and is sweating his face off during this announcement in the video that he made because he knows he messed up. He knows that people see right through you now. Right? So we go on to the next one. Like I said, there's so many. Oh, my God. Let's go to Steve Tish. This is a big one that a lot of people are talking about. This guy, Jeffrey Epstein scouted women for New York Giants co-owner Steve Tish, emails show. I would even change the way they say this headline because it was underage girls. Notice how they're trying to age them up. Everybody paying attention to that? So he's the co-owner of the New York Giants, Steve Tish. And you know who he's related to? His cousin is Jessica Tish, the New York City Police Department commissioner. The Zionist, the woman who, basically was against Zoran's leg campaign. And then he gets in and he decided to keep her. That was one of the agreements or something that he made. Remember her? The woman that told the police to go after there and bash the pro-Palestinian protesters' heads in? That's his cousin. Makes you wonder how much she knew. This person went on to give a little snide remark here. Wow, it sure would be convenient for pedo Steve Tish if one of his family members was, and I'm just spitballing here, the commissioner of the world's largest police department, which happens to operate in the city he lives in. So you got big, powerful people with money, and then you have the protection of law enforcement as well because your family's a part of it. Haven't heard any word from Jessica Tish, but Steve did respond. Here's his statement. We had a brief association where we exchanged emails about adult women. Now everybody's an adult now. And in addition, we discussed movies, philanthropy, and investments. I did not take him up on any of his invitations and never went to his island. As we all know now, he was a terrible person and someone I deeply regret associating with. Nah, you knew back then. You knew back then. Okay? Because by that time, he had already been accused. There were already raids of the house that he had in, I believe this was Palm Beach. He would have already been accused prior to that year. So the whole we didn't know. No, you knew. So it's wild. And when you look at the comments, Monty said he just exchanged emails about trafficking women with a convicted sexual predator. No big deal, guy. Giant fans, y'all have to realize ownership. John already knew this would happen. Keep in mind, there's a reason why he rejected Eli's offer and accepted Julia's. He knew beforehand that the emails would eventually leak. Steve says, oh, this is bad. This is bad. It goes all the way down. He's not the only one in professional sports. It turns out also Jets owner Woody Johnson also mentioned in the Epstein files. So ladies and gentlemen, if you got any favorites, if you have any idols, you need to cast them aside. You will be disappointed with some of the things and some of the names that are mentioned. And I had to break this up into two parts because, like I said, more and more information continues to come out. And that goes for people who are into music like me as well. Because Jay-Z and Pusha T are also mentioned in this latest release. Let's go ahead and bring this one up here. Sean Carter and Pusha T have been named in the Epstein files, with Pusha T being identified as a handler of an Epstein victim. Let's go into this one here. Now, this was unclassified by the FBI. So this is the actual FBI report. This is 2019, the date for this here. And sorry, guys, I know the text is really small, so bear with me. Blank called the FBI National Threat Operations Center to identify herself as a victim of sex abuse by Jeffrey Epstein and others. Let's go on to right about here. Here we go. As a past victim of sex abuse by Epstein, blank described the abuse occurred during the parties. Blank further identified blank as a friend of blank. Now, here we go here. In approximately 1990, let me see this, hold on. 4, it's hard to see, it's either 4 or 6, resided with blank in blank. An unknown man abducted them from their home, whence she later awoke in the presence of Harvey Weinstein and Sean Carter, Jay-Z, while Weinstein had inserted his fingers into blank. Blank believed she was in Epstein's mansion in Florida. So remember, like we said, Epstein had multiple properties here. They estimated she was abducted on 7 occasions, awaking each time in an opulent indoor setting. They suffered from sex abuse on multiple of these occasions in which Epstein participated. They recalled Leon Black and William Barr, current United States Attorney General, being present during some of these occasions of abuse. William Barr. See all the names coming out? In approximately 2006, blank last recalled being abused by Epstein on, let's go to the next part here. This one's bigger, thank goodness. On each occasion, blank believed she was drugged, clouding her memory. Blank attributed the drugging as frequently performed by persons assigned as handlers, whom she described as persons whom established relationships with the victims. Among her handlers, blank identified the artist Pusha T. In approximately 2007, blank attended a party, blank, following invitation from an unknown man who approached her as she walked down the street. Weinstein and Pusha T also attended the party and drugged her before engaging in sexual abuse. Blank claimed to have additional information of other persons involved in the enterprise and information related to racketeering conducted in support of trafficking. Blank further believed she was under surveillance and stalked at the direction of the people involved in the sex abuse. Blank confirmed she was not diagnosed with any mental illness. Blank refused to provide her physical address, advising that she maintained no permanent address. Rather, she'd been moved between staying at different hotels. This is dated July 10th of 2019. Pusha T, Jay-Z, Weinstein, and William Barr. So like I said, any celebrities or that you have as heroes or idols, put that aside for a moment. Remember, you don't know these people. You don't know them. You may like their music, you may like their movies, but you don't know them. And someone finally said it. I shared this earlier today because this needed to be said. Jay-Z's pattern with teen girls needs to be talked about. Look at who he was around when they were minors. Jay-Z dated Foxy Brown when she was 15 and allegedly took her virginity. He was 23. She accidentally spilled that they slept together on the Wendy Williams radio show. I remember this. 2, Jay-Z was linked to Aaliyah when she was 15 to 17 years old. He was 26 to 28. Rumors flew, photos existed, but it stayed quiet. Same era R. Kelly married her at 15. And it was also alleged that Jay-Z was interested in Aaliyah before he was interested in Beyonce. And Aaliyah went on to die in a plane crash. Now, I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. Aaliyah was a brilliant artist. She had a phenomenal voice. And sometimes I often wonder, how far would Beyonce have gotten if Aaliyah were still alive? It makes you wonder. Let's go on here. Jay-Z met Beyonce when she was 16, pursued her hard, and started dating her when she was 18, 19. He was 30. He even said in old interviews, she will be mine while she was underage. Jay-Z signed Rihanna at 16, flew her in and wouldn't let her leave the office until 3 a.m. until she signed the contract. Now, that's also stated to have been some type of PR stunt, just FYI, to hype up the album. but still, she was underage. He told her it's only two ways out of the room, through the window, which multiple stories up, or the signed contract. The point is this: Foxy Brown was underage. I mean, this wasn't private. This was very open and public. He met Beyonce when she was underage. Now, he said they started dating when she was 18. He was still older than her, right? So it's like he only went after women that were underage. Let's go on. Rihanna. I got to say something about the Rihanna situation. When Rihanna came to the United States to audition for Jay-Z, Rihanna came without her mother. The guys who were working, I forget the two gentlemen's name, but the two guys that found her, they discovered her in Barbados. They brought her back with them. She came here without her mother, and she was underage. And she's sent into this room to audition for a bunch of grown men. Now, I would say that I don't know what mother would leave there. This happens a lot in Hollywood and in the music industry, where parents just allow their underage kid to just go off and live with someone else and all this other stuff. Hell to the no, that would never happen with me. I never understood that. You don't know these people. And Rihanna was still a child. So that was always weird to me too. Think about how fast Rihanna had to grow up. No parent, 16. It makes you wonder about what could have happened with Rihanna. And then here's Jay-Z with Aaliyah here. So these things need to be said. And this is something we have to acknowledge as well in the Black community, because I see people trying to make excuses for this. Just because it's someone that is Black like us, that doesn't mean that what they're doing isn't wrong. So I push back on all of that. I don't care what color you are. This was wrong. Now, Kanye, a while back, kind of tried to sound the alarm about Jay-Z and Pusha T. Listen to this.
If you take people like Jay-Z and fucking Pusha T, they made their living killing our people. So how the fuck they gonna stand up for our people? You know what I'm saying? But we forget that because we love Jay-Z's music so much. We love Pusha's music so much, right? But you think they would ever, Beyonce had the best for somebody else? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You think they would ever tell the truth? No, if they told the truth, they'd go to jail. You know what I'm saying? So you have liars. Man. Liars are now the face of our culture.
Well, Kanye tried to warn people. All right. And that's one of the reasons why the music industry has come so hard after him. We got to go on to Masha. Let's get to Masha. In 2017, an individual named Masha Drakova told Epstein that he should only work with DNA tested Jewish individuals, claiming that greater Jewish ancestry correlates with higher intelligence. The same email contains a statement asserting that Epstein was 98% Jewish. Listen to this. I found criteria to find smart people. The more Jew you are, the smarter you are. You said you're 98%. You're very smart. My ex-boss is 78%. He's super smart, less smart than you are. I have a close friend, business partner who's 99.3%. He's crazily smart. We take all Jewish people. Sourcing can be done through relatives. Ask them to do 23andMe tests. Do event for everyone who is 98% Jewish. Also, all of them are not religious. Do you think it makes sense, right? That's from Masha Drakova. This is absolutely insane. More pushing of supremacy. And I want to show you something else about her. Full name, Maria Drakova, once a high-profile face of Nashi, Putin's pro-Kremlin youth movement in the 2000s. Later, she pivoted to the U.S. and distanced herself from her past, producing a critical documentary on Putin and rebranded as Silicon Valley Girl Boss. That's this woman right here, Masha Drakova. You see how they tell you who your heroes are going to be? One of the girl boss people. So it just I'm telling you guys, like it's wild. There's more. Please hold tight. I'm sorry. It's a lot of information. We got to get to George Bush. New Epstein document states George Bush I Sr. allegedly assaulted a male victim who was a child and witnessed a type of ritualistic sacrifice. So let's get into this. Start at the bottom here. So this is an email. They're blocking out the names on this one. Interview of perpetrated Epstein victim. I'd like to add a few other points disclosed by the purported victim. While on this yacht, he witnessed African-American males having sex with white blonde females. All of them were, pardon me for this, were bleeding during the act. He was a victim of a type of ritualistic sacrifice in which his feet were cut with it's so tiny, I can't read this, scimitar, but left no scarring. On the yacht, he witnessed babies being dismembered, their intestines removed, and individuals eating the feces of these intestines. He was also assaulted by George Bush I, allegedly. I hope you have a strong stomach here, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of this information is disgusting. And so I apologize for that. But this goes back to some of these rumors that we had heard years ago about these ritual sacrifices that involve children. But when people came forward with that information, they were called nuts and conspiracists. This is a male. Victim disclosed he was escorted to the FBI building by Michael Moore, who is the creator of True Pundit, described by multiple online sources as a conspiracy-driven news website that attempts to paint the FBI in a bad light. You don't have to have conspiracy to do that. The FBI does that on its own. Moore has a criminal record as a result of an FBI investigation. Let me know if you want to discuss the former FBI agent that called this into the head office. And then it says here, he has more to tell us too, he said. So I don't know if that could have been Sasha, but we talked about Sasha on this show as well, who was a male. And it brings me back to this video that was shown a long time ago. 21-year-old Gabriela Jimenez was filmed after claiming she had attended an exclusive elite party. This is in 2009. She vanished that night, never to be seen again. Remember this? She said they were eating humans. They smelled like human flesh. No one knows what happened to Gabriella, apparently, till this day. So that's one that I always bring up. Another one that I want to show you here is the Mossad situation, which also names Alan Dershowitz, which we had all been alluding to for quite some time. Glenn Greenwald was sharing this one here. Let me go ahead and put this up on the screen so you can see. Jeffrey Epstein was represented by Dershowitz. CHS, remember Dershowitz, tell Alex Acosta, U.S. Attorney of Southern District of Florida at the time, that Epstein belonged to both U.S. and allied intelligence services. Both. CHS shared phone calls between Dershowitz and Epstein during which he or she took notes. After these calls, Mossad would then call Dershowitz to debrief. Epstein was close to the former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak, who we talked about before, and trained as a spy under him. Barak believed Netanyahu was a criminal. Saudi Arabia, Israel, and the UAE are allied against Qatar, Turkey, Iran, and Syria, one of CHS's blank, who presumably blank worked for blank, excuse me, asked CHS a lot of questions about Epstein. CHS became convinced that Epstein was a co-opted Mossad agent. So this is important for people to see, because when we go back, we'll go to the Kim Iverson one in just a second. Let's go to this one, because this also includes the co-opting here. And then we'll get back to the Alan Dershowitz, because I want to make the connection. Holy guacamole, this is a bombshell. It just came out today in the freshly released Epstein files from the DOJ, which has since been deleted according to confidential informant. Trump has been compromised by Israel, and Kushner is the real brains behind this organization and his presidency. So what it goes on to say here, let me highlight this. And it's tiny, but I can read it. CHS believed Dershowitz was co-opted by Mossad and subscribed to their mission. Alan Dershowitz. And that's important when we get back to that Kim Iverson interview, which I'm going to show you in just a second, but let me read it from here because it is so tiny. If isn't the confirmation I told you the century, then I truly don't know what it is. It goes on to say here about Kushner. Mind you, this was 2020, and you can see what his second presidency has turned into. MEGA being the order of the day. It makes perfect sense. It confirms that Trump is really just a puppet, not running anything. He has taken orders and direction from people like Jared Kushner on many things, especially foreign policy wise. This is what many already knew to be true, but to see it in the files is shocking, as is Kushner's confirmed direct involvement. So, yeah, again, they really do call out Alan Dershowitz here. Like I said, this part's really small. CHS advised. Yeah, right here. Trump has been compromised by Israel and Kushner. Again, this is Federal Bureau of Investigation, CHS reporting document. They knew all of this stuff. They've been new. Donald Trump ran on America first because he knows that that's a winning message. But at the end of the day, he's been controlled. He's been a part of Israel. Now, let's go back to when Kim Iverson interviewed Alan Dershowitz. And I want to remind you what he said about the Mossad allegation.
Well, many of us suspect that Jeffrey Epstein was an asset to Mossad, and that Ghislaine Maxwell was in fact an agent of Mossad. There's a lot
Totally
of evidence
nonsense.
that point to this direction, and
No,
that they
there's no
were
evidence.
operating a blackmail operation in order to get very powerful people, including people like yourself, in precarious positions to where you could potentially work on behalf of the state of Israel or protect the state of Israel.
I've been working on the state of Israel. I've been working for the state of Israel since before you were born. Jeffrey Epstein once visited me in Israel. He had never been there. He didn't know anybody in Israel. He didn't work for the Mossad. The Mossad wouldn't hire him. And I hope he had videotapes of everybody, because they would show I never did anything improper. I have one other question. Are you used to having people come on your show to talk about one subject and then sandbagging them on another subject without any warning? Because it's nice to know you do that, and it will make certain that I have nothing to hide. I'm happy to talk about any of this, but I'm used to more ethical journalism.
No, we actually did notify the people who booked you onto the show that you would be asked about Epstein, and they assured us that you were aware
No,
of
they
this.
never notified me about that.
So, another lie. Guys, it's in the files. It's in the FBI files. And I will also let you know that Alan Dershowitz reached out to me months ago to come on this show. He's not coming on this show. I did not respond to that email. I still have it, but I didn't respond to it because I see him for what he really is. So somebody clip that. Somebody clip that. so that you'll know. Because if anything ever were to happen to me, you'll know that he sent me that request to come onto the show. There's more here. I'm trying to get through all of it, guys. Yeah, Somaliland. Remember Somaliland? We were just talking about that not too shortly, right? Somaliland is also in the Epstein files. So get this. Whoa. Jeffrey Epstein was planning to open Somaliwood studios in Somaliland with Sesame Street type of shows geared towards children. How many children was Somaliland going to violate for recognition? Let's bring this up here. This is to Stephen and Jeffrey Epstein. It blocks who it's from. We should talk to the boys in LA about this. What if we put together a small group that professionalized the African film industry? There is currently a small movement called Nollywood in Nigeria, and the big bosses there is a YGL. She was telling me how hard it was since no one knew how to do film. But we could build a small studio in Somaliland and call it Somaliwood Studios. Imagine the cool filming, beaches, desert, etc. We could invite Muslim and all sorts of groups to film there. We would make it part of the mission to not allow anything immoral to be filmed there. Could do like Sesame Street type stuff, children's programming, etc. for African kids. They have serious tech ability there. Could put together a CGI facility that would rival any. I'm copying Jeffrey since he might also think this would be fun. Movies are like products. And Israel has just compromised Somaliland. They wanted to do a children's show, children type shows in Somaliland. And I wonder what would have happened to those children. Z Squirrel has been on it from day one. Z Squirrel posted this as well on Friday. It's not just Trump. The entire orbit is filled with Epstein, Mossad, pedo rapists. Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Bill Ackman, Tom Barack, Larry Ellison, who he's given TikTok to, meaning giving it directly to the Mossad. The Mossad installed a Zionist pedo rapist as president of the United States, who they control via his donors and the tapes in the Tel Aviv vault of him assaulting 11-year-old girls in Epstein's mansions. And they put pictures here. Elon with Ghislaine, Bill Gates, Epstein, Elon. There's Netanyahu up there with Elon. We go on here and you can see, again, it's all connected. Peter Thiel's over here, Trump and Epstein, Bill Ackman right here. Look, there's Ben Shapiro, right? Ben Shapiro. And then, of course, Trump holding out Benjamin Netanyahu's seat. And, you know, let's not forget, maybe I should bring this up. Let's see if I can bring it up. Let's not forget how Ben Shapiro ran defense for Jeffrey Epstein. In fact, I think I have that here. Give me just a second. I do have it here. Let's go ahead and bring this up. Never forget Ben Shapiro ran cover for Epstein. So let's go here.
But they are child pornography. The reason the FBI is not releasing them is because those tapes have thousands of hours of tape. There are, by the way, but they are child pornography. The reason the FBI is not releasing them is because those tapes do not include underage people with third parties on Epstein Island. That is not what the tapes are. Okay, I also have sources in the federal government who are covering this stuff and have seen the documents. Okay, those tapes are just child porn. That's all. That's what they are. That's why the FBI is not releasing them. Okay, as far as the Epstein list, what I have been told by my sources is that there is no Epstein list, that basically there's a black book of Jeffrey Epstein contacts. And the vast majority of those contacts are already out there publicly. That's why you know names like Prince Andrew or Alan Dershowitz or some of the names that have been mentioned here. Those contacts, there is no evidence, according to the DOJ and the FBI, and again, that's public, there's no evidence that any of those third parties were having girls trafficked to them. There is Tucker then asserting that it was actually Mossad. Again, without evidence, that not a shock. Of course, this is where Tucker was going. This has become the hot speculation on the internet, is without evidence. You say that Mossad was running Jeffrey Epstein. When I say without evidence, I mean without evidence. Naftali Bennett, the former Israeli prime minister, said, quote, "As a former Israeli prime minister, with the Mossad having reported directly to me, I say to you with 100% certainty, the accusation that Jeffrey Epstein somehow worked for Israel or the Mossad running a blackmail ring is categorically and totally false. This accusation is a lie being peddled by prominent online personalities such as Tucker Carlson, pretending they know things they don't."
So,
and in fact, I followed up with the former prime minister, Naftali Bennett, and what he told me is that Mossad has not been active in the United States or against the United States since the Jonathan Pollard scandal of 1987.
right. And we should believe Naftali Bennett because what? We should believe him because why? Right? So let's not forget the way that Ben Shapiro ran cover for Jeffrey Epstein. Don't forget that. The files are there. You can check them out as well for yourself. I feel like I'm a little detective reading through all those files because I was just like, oh my God, it's a lot of information. I don't know if there's going to be a part 3 to this, but more information continues to come out. So if more things are revealed, I will do another one. But it just doesn't look good, guys. So I'm going to say it again. All your heroes and your idols or whatever it is that you have, you need to just put that aside because we don't know who else is going to be named. And by the way, I just saw that the Gray Zone, we need to cover this, I guess, later too. The Gray Zone just dropped an article that reveals that NBA basketball star, beloved basketball star, Steph Curry is tied to Zionist intelligence. It's all coming out, ladies and gentlemen. The U.S. has been co-opted, and we got to break away from that. Hey, guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.